Hello, welcome back to the channel. I am yours truly, and today we're going to look at TCU Horned Frogs for the 2023 season. Now, to give a quick little recap, 2022 they went 13-2, made a national championship appearance, and their two losses were to the Big 12 title game to Kansas State, and their other loss was to Georgia. How they got to face Georgia? Well, they faced Michigan and beat Michigan in the college football playoff semifinals. So while I think TCU is still going to do good this year, I don't think they're going to achieve a national championship appearance this year. I just don't see that happening. But anyways, enough of me rambling about that. Let's get to some quick facts about TCU. So let's take a look at a kind of a rundown or a summary of TCU odds this year. So, like I mentioned before, in 2022, TCU went 13-2. They won the CFP semifinals or the college football playoff semifinals against Michigan, but they lost in the Big 12 title game in overtime to Kansas State, and they lost badly to Georgia in the national championship, only putting up a measly 7 points compared to Georgia putting up 65, and they probably could have put up more, but they just had mercy on TCU. So we're gonna look at the over under win total for 2023. Now, like I mentioned with Michigan before, the over under win total is like it's basically you placing a bet saying that the team's going to go over the number or under the win number. So if you said TCU is going to go, or you, or if you're going to bet on the over for 2023 for the win total, that means you need TCU to go 8-4 or better, and you'd win your money. If you bet the under, you're saying that TCU is going to go 7-5 or worse. Now the 2023 national title odds for TCU are plus 6,000, which that's, and for Vegas numbers, that's a long shot. But if you decide you want to put your money down, put $100 down for TCU, and TCU somehow wins the national championship, you'll win 6 grand. And then the 2023 Big 12 title odds for TCU are plus 1,400. Like I said, you put $100 down saying that TCU is going to win, you'll win $1,400. So those are pretty long shot odds for TCU. As we take a look at TCU's schedule for 2023, me just briefly looking at it, I can see that this schedule is somewhat like Michigan's. TCU's schedule is backloaded, meaning a lot of their easier games are going to be up in the first half of the season, and a lot of their tougher games are going to be in the second half of the season. So, and then I look at where the bye week is. It's a good spot for TCU to have a bye week. Not the perfect spot, but I would take it. It's right between Kansas State and Texas Tech. So, you know, you kind of take what you can get for TCU. So, let's get into the schedule prediction. The first game on the schedule is for TCU is for Colorado, and Colorado is going to come in with a lot of hype, a lot of attention, a lot of eyeballs. So TCU is going to start off with a lot of attention by default because the media and fans are going to want to see what Dion does in his first game at Colorado, whether it's going to be bad or if it's going to be good, how well they play, how bad they play, and I, I mean, I'm gonna catch a lot of heat for this one, but I think Colorado loses this game due to the fact that, yeah, Colorado got a few 4 and 5 star recruits, but Colorado is still a year, or at least a year away from being competitive because Colorado has been the laughing stock of the Pac-12 for years now, and the talent is not there for Dion to compete with even with the TCU's, much less with the big boys like your USC's and all that. It's just not there. Now the next game on the schedule is a home game with Nicholas State. TCU should win this one by 50. This is like a bring out the backups by the second half type of game. So I'm not gonna spend too much time on Nicholas State. Up next on the schedule is a road trip to Houston to open their Big 12 conference play. And for Houston, this is their first ever Big 12 game as a Big 12 member. And while this is probably going to be fairly close for both teams, I just think TCU is going to give Houston a loss as their welcome home gift. So give me a win over Houston. The next game on the schedule for TCU is a home game against SMU for the Golden Skillet Trophy. Um, as much as there's going to be some good cooking in Fort Worth, and there might be some golden skillets involved, I don't think it's going to be good eating by both teams. I think this is going to be like a 21 to 28 point win for TCU over SMU. It's SMU doesn't have the same momentum as they did with their former coach. Now it's at TCU with Sonny Dykes. So give me the win. Give TCU a win over SMU. The next game on TCU schedule is a home game against West Virginia, and I think West Virginia is going to be probably the worst Big 12 team in in the conference. I'm just not buying the Neil Brown hype train. I think that train's been long gone from the train station, and I think at this point, West Virginia is either going to be looking for a new coach or they're going to be looking for a new coach shortly after this game. So, give me a blowout win over West Virginia. The next game on the schedule for TCU is a road trip to Iowa State, and like with Neil Brown, I'm not buying the Matt Campbell hype train. But unlike Matt Campbell, the level of expectations for Iowa State is a bit lower than at West Virginia, and Neil Brown should have been fired last year, but West Virginia couldn't afford to pay his buyout, so here he is again for 2023. But like with West Virginia, I think this might be a little bit closer than a game against West Virginia due to being a road game, and Iowa State I think is a little bit more talented with their defense especially, but I still think this is going to be like a I don't know, like a 14 point. This feels like a 14-point win for TCU. Next game on the schedule for TCU is a home game with BYU. As TCU sits at 6-0, I think BYU is going to be a worse off team on paper than TCU, but I just have a gut feeling about this game that BYU is going to take it to TCU. They're going to give them all they can handle. And I believe this is going to be a close game for TCU. It might come down to a field goal or a late touchdown, but I think right now I'm going to have to give the edge to TCU on this one. I think they're going to barely survive against BYU. So give me a win over BYU to make them 7-0. Next game on the TCU schedule is a road trip to Kansas State. And I think this is where the wheels on the bus start falling off for TCU on their undefeated run or their Big 12 run in general. We'll get to it in a second, but I think Kansas State, despite them losing a few pieces on offense and defense. I just think Kansas State has TCU's number as shown last year. They beat them in the Big 12 title game despite TCU beating them in the regular season. Although Kansas State should have beaten them in the regular season as well, but they didn't. They blew that lead. So, anyways, give me a loss over Kansas State as Kansas State gives them their first loss of the season. The next game on TCU's schedule is a road game against Texas Tech. Now they get Texas Tech after a bye week, so TCU is going to be a little bit more rested versus Texas Tech, but I think Texas Tech is going to sneak up on TCU and give them another loss because I I am buying the hype for Texas Tech being a fringe Big 12 contender. They might not get to the Big 12 title game, but they're going to be pretty close to getting there. And enough of me rant about Texas Tech. I just think Texas Tech is going to give TCU their second loss of the season. The next game on TCU's schedule is a home game against Texas, and TCU is coming off of a two-game losing streak under my prediction, and I think this is going to be another loss for TCU, is they're going to be losing three in a row because I think Texas this year is going to be the team to beat in the Big 12 as far as the talent. The talent level is there for Texas. They got a top five wide receiver room. Uh, it's just putting it together with the coaching, and I just think Texas is this is the year for Texas. Well, ultimately, it has to be the year for Texas. They're going to win the Big 12 as they're off to the SEC next year. So, give me a loss against Texas. The next game on the schedule is a home game against Baylor, and this is a rivalry game for TCU for the Holy War. And this game last year was one of the best throughout the season, as Baylor almost pulled the upset off. It literally came down to the wire with a rushed field goal, which went through for TCU. So TCU comes in this game with my prediction with a three-game losing streak. I think TCU is going to break that losing streak with a win over Baylor. For the final game on their schedule, TCU will have to make a road trip to Oklahoma, and this is going to be a pretty tricky game. I know Oklahoma last year went 6-7, counting the bowl loss, but Oklahoma brought in a lot of talent through the transfer portal and the recruiting class, and TCU lost a lot of talent. So it may look like TCU might be a little bit better than Oklahoma, but due to being this a road game, I'm gonna have to give Oklahoma an upset win over TCU, which will make TCU's record go to 8-4 for the season. So that wraps up the 2023 TCU schedule prediction, and this is pretty average, middle of the road type of prediction. It's not being too optimistic, not too pessimistic. So the issue I have on my end is, yeah, anybody can say, "Oh, TCU is gonna go 8-4." Okay, if I did that, then I would say, okay, TCU goes 8-4. Like and comment, subscribe, da 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 da. I'll see you next time. It would be like a minute long. So I do is break it down by game, um, to figure out where not only the record that TCU is going to have, but where they're going to lose to, who they're going to lose to. And anyways, I think at best for TCU is probably like a 10-2. They with that you might say they would win over Kansas State or Texas Tech and Oklahoma, or any combination of the four losses. Take two of them away, but the floor for TCU I think is going to be 6-6. So by that standard, TCU would still make a bowl game. With this, I don't. With its 8-4 record, I don't think TCU is going to make another appearance for the Big 12 title game at 5-4. And plus, unlike most years with the Big 12 this year added 4 teams, so now the Big 12 is at 14 teams, and it's impossible for the Big 12 to schedule 13 conference games. So not all schedules are created equally, and TCU kind of got one of the harder schedules this year. Now for the Big 12 going forward, they're going to be going back down, as of recording this, down to 12 teams next year. So it might get easier for TCU. So, anyways, like and comment, subscribe to the video, give a nod to the Hypnotoad if you made it down this far into the video. He made a guest appearance on this schedule prediction, so I'm gonna give him a round of applause for Hypnotoad to make a for him making a an appearance on the video. So if you like the little in Easter eggs at the end, I'll probably put some more up on future videos. Um, may not be the hip to toad, but anyways, like I said, like and comment, subscribe to the video as we're trying to grow the channel to astronomical heights. And until next time, thank you for watching.